Blog Talk Radio.
The purple angel, oh purple angel, you're next to me. Purple angel, oh purple angel, you're next to me. You're next to me. You're next to me.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Alzheimer Speaks Radio. I'm your host and the founder of Alzheimer Speaks, which is a advocacy-based company providing multiple platforms to shift your dementia care culture from crisis to comfort around the world. We believe at Alzheimer Speaks that by joining forces and sharing knowledge and just having these everyday conversations about life with dementia, that we can remove the stigmas attached to memory loss and help those live with the disease continue to live with purpose and be connected to our communities. Together, we can help everybody understand the true needs of Alzheimer's disease and the other various dementias. We know we're making a difference because we were so lucky to be awarded the #1 influencer online for Alzheimer's, according to ShareCare and Dr. Oz, and by no means did we do that alone. So I want to thank all of our listeners. It's your likes and clicks and shares with your Facebook families, with your Google circles, with your LinkedIn groups, that is making a difference. There are so many people in our lives and in our sphere of influence that are dealing with this disease who haven't even told us. And so the more information we can push out to them and have ready when the time is right for them to grab it, it's just going to make everybody's life so much easier. And so I encourage you to continue to share this information because you are making a huge, huge difference to so many. As always with our show, we love to have people call in and participate or chat with us via the chat box. So if you signed in via Facebook, you can utilize the chat box, or you can call in live at 714-364-4757. Again, that's 714-364-4757. And today's show, we are lucky enough to have the executive director from Alzheimer's Disease International with us. And Marc Wortmann is going to be sharing with us a new study released about reducing the risk for dementia. So this organization is just doing so many cool things, pulling us together globally, that I just really always enjoy our conversations with Marc. But before I go there, I always just like to give a shout out to a few different organizations that I think it's vital that people know about. Alzheimer's Disease International, of course, is one I always talk about, so we'll hear more about them when I have Marc on the show. Because it's World Alzheimer's Month, I also want to mention the Purple Angel Project. This is a new global symbol for dementia. Anybody can utilize this symbol and help raise awareness. It doesn't cost you any money, and it just takes moments to partake. This was a symbol that was designed by Norms McNamara and Jane Moore, who Norms is actually living with dementia over in the UK. And Alzheimer's Speaks is going to kind of be the U.S. launch because the program has gotten so big, which is absolutely fabulous. So you can go to alzheimerspeaks.com. Go to our About page, and there you'll see a tab for the Purple Angel. And you can read a little bit more about the history of it and how you can get the downloads to share information and help expand the awareness and the education on dementia. Our goal is for the purple angel to be as well known and as well respected and accepted as the pink ribbon is for breast cancer. So you're our foot soldiers out there helping us do that. So I want to thank you all in advance. And again, both individuals and companies can utilize this symbol. If you are looking for holistic modes of approach towards the disease, check out Alzheimer's Research and Prevention Foundation. They really focus on diet, exercise, meditation, things of that nature, and they also have a lot of free educational programs that they provide, as well as they've always got some contests going too. If you're dealing specifically with Lewy body dementia or frontal temporal lobe, or maybe you're dealing with some aphasia, which for those of you that aren't aware of that, it has to do with speech. There are national organizations that can help you with those specific diseases as well. And I need to give a shout out to Alzheimer's Music Connect. Again, I am so excited. They just do fabulous work. Their work is research-based to help people with dementia. And you can go to their site. Again, it's Alzheimer's Music Connect. Look for a holiday CD that's coming out. It is absolutely fabulous, and it'll be just a great reminiscing and connection piece for so many. And then I am so proud to be working with HealthStar Home Health Care. They are just doing marvelous work here in Minnesota. They just opened up their first memory cafe. They did the first memory screenings that we've had at our state fair. They actually did over 2,200 screenings, and they touched base with about 14,000 people. And that wasn't just handing them a brochure. That was having some very intimate conversations, because I was out there with them for a portion of that. And then, of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my friends at Puzzle With Me and Jiminy Wicket. Both are great opportunities for people to connect and engage when they're dealing with someone with dementia. So go ahead and check all of those great resources out. There's so many more that we also have listed on AlzheimersSpeaks.com if you go to our resource directory. If you're a provider of any product, service, or tool dealing with dementia or caregiving, you can also input your resources into the directory at no cost. Again, Alzheimer's Speaks is about raising voice of everyone and keeping that field of play open so that people can tap into the services that they need when they need them. As a daughter dealing with this disease with my own mother for 30 years, I understand the importance of that, and so we're here to help on that. So let me go ahead and introduce our guest today. This is a special show because, as you know, usually we do shows just on Tuesdays, but we've been having a lot of special shows during the month of September due to World Alzheimer's Day. Marc Wortmann is the Executive Director of Alzheimer's Disease International, and we have been lucky enough to have him with us many times on the show. And again, this is an organization of all the Alzheimer's associations around the world, and they are really trying to pull the world together on a global level to work together. And I'm not going to say a whole lot more than that because Marc can speak to his organization much better than I can. But again, doing some amazing work, and we have seen some great changes just in the last few years with the global summits and so forth that are coming on. Today we're going to focus on a new study that was released, though. So welcome to the show, Marc. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thanks very much for having me.
Well, good. We're excited to talk about this new report that was just published. Do you want to give us some details on that, on what it's about?
Yes. Yeah, and of course I wanted to say that this is a special month, the month of September now. Since 3 years we have World Alzheimer's Month, and it originally started with World Alzheimer's Day in 1994, but it has very much expanded, and there's so many activities around the world that it's really amazing. We probably only see 10% of those. But anyway, what ADI, Alzheimer's Disease International, is doing every year now is bring out a report on a hot topic. And I'm sure that this year we have a very good topic that many people talk about. So how can you reduce your risk of getting dementia? Is there any evidence that there are certain risk factors that are modifiable? We know, of course, that the main risk factor of getting Alzheimer's disease or other dementias is age, and we can't do anything about that. But what we studied in this report is through a systematic review. That means looking at all the studies that are done on a specific topic, and then just not the outcome of one study, but adding up a number of studies that gives you probably a better insight. And we looked at 4 domains. So the first one is developmental and early life factors. The second is psychological factors. Then the third one, lifestyle. And the fourth one is cardiovascular risk factors. And what we found is, well, it's not me, but the research group that did the work, is that there is strong evidence that the dementia risk increases with low education, and then with high hypertension in midlife, and with diabetes and smoking during the life course. So there are 4 factors with a really strong evidence.
Okay. Can you repeat those
yeah.
Can you repeat those again for our audience? Those 4 factors. I want to make sure people have a chance
Yeah.
to jot those down if they'd like.
Yeah. So one thing is low education is a risk factor. So people who are higher educated seem to get dementia later in their life, a few years later than people with low education. Of course, there's not so much you can do anymore if you're like, I'm 56, maybe try to learn another language. But yeah, keep your brain active is a good thing to do anyway. But the other 3 are hypertension, especially in midlife. So hypertension is high blood pressure, and then diabetes and smoking are also risk factors for dementia.
Okay, wonderful. So that's good to know, because a lot of this are things that we can control in terms of how we eat and exercise and choices that we make. So very, very true. Marc, what do you want to go into a little bit more detail?
One disclaimer, Lori? May I
Sure.
make one disclaimer? This is true if you look at a lot of people. So if you study 1 million people, you will see that this is true. But for an individual, it's not a guarantee that if you don't smoke or if you live healthy, that you don't get diseases. Mm-hmm. So people should never blame themselves or anybody else and say, okay, if you had done this differently, then you wouldn't have got the disease. I think that's a very important point.
Yeah, I agree. There's so much with this disease that we don't know. Even though it's been around for 100 years, there's still a lot we need to learn. And it's amazing all the studies that are coming out right and left in the clinical trials, and just the social aspects in terms of engagement. I mean, it's just nice to see all the chatter in the dementia-friendly communities and things. It all will help. But again, you're correct. We should never blame ourselves for getting ill, especially with a disease like this, because there are so many unknowns. With it. Again, this is about reducing, hopefully reducing your risk factors in terms of adjusting this. So do you want to talk a little bit more about each of those categories at all, or?
Yeah, that's okay. So if we look at the 4 domains, then so developmental and early life factors, that means that from your birth on, all the things that are happening with you have an impact on your possible disease in later life. And that's, I think we are more and more, as human beings, we are more and more aware of that, how important it is that little children get a good start in life. And now we see that same pattern also for dementia, that they benefit from going to school, get good education. Then the psychological factors is a bit more complicated. So the researchers looked at the relationship between depression and dementia, anxiety, stress, sleep disorders. There seems to be some relationships, but it's not so clear that we can say, okay, this is absolutely the case. Especially depression, it looks like depression is something that comes together with dementia, and sometimes people have depression first and then develop dementia, but we're not sure what the relationship is, because we can imagine that if you lose some grip on your life, what is happening with dementia, that can be a reason for depression as well. So whether it's one way around or the other way, we were not sure about that. Then the lifestyle is an important point, and it's highly discussed also in the social media. And sometimes you see messages about if you drink coffee, that reduces your risk, or eat raspberries and things like that. It's not easy to really find the evidence for this, because it's a complex issue, and with a clinical trial, you have a pill that you give someone, or you give a placebo, and then you measure the difference. But of course, eating is something much more complex. So what we saw is clearly that there is a relationship with smoking, and that smoking is not good for your health, we know already, but it's also not good for your brain. Alcohol is a bit different. So it seems that a little bit of alcohol is not bad, but of course, alcohol abuse is very bad for you. But alcohol in itself is not a risk factor for dementia. It was a little bit of a surprise to me. Physical activity seems to be good, but there is not so much evidence. It's more like indirect evidence, because physical activity is good for your heart, good against diabetes. Then it's likely that it's good for reducing your risk of dementia as well. But the evidence is not so strong. And it's the same with the diet. The only study that has shows a clear benefit is a big study that was done in the U.S. on the Mediterranean diet. But still, that's only one study. So the researchers hesitate a bit to say, okay, this is the golden grail, the holy grail, and everybody should do that. And finally, the area where the evidence is strongest is the cardiovascular risk factors. So everything that relates to the heart has an impact on the brain as well. And we clearly saw that hypertension in midlife is a risk factor. Interestingly, it's not anymore when people are older. So midlife is around 50. If you're in your 70s or 80s, then a bit higher blood pressure is not bad for your risk of getting dementia. And then diabetes and is clearly a risk factor in both ages, so in midlife but also in late life.
Okay.
I think that's a lot of information for you, Louise.
Yeah.
But the whole report is 100 pages, so it's very, very much to read, and that's why we try to summarize it.
Yeah, which is great, because it is a lot to take in. But it's wonderful that this study was done, and that it was launched during World Alzheimer's Month too. I think that's just a fantastic route to go. Now, when you do these studies, is this connected with the World Health Organization as well, or is this just strictly ADI?
Yeah, it's strictly ADI. But with this report, we really we aim to influence the World Health Organization, because they are recommending public health campaigns to reduce your risk on chronic diseases like cancer and heart disease and diabetes. But they don't mention that all those things, because they're mostly the same things that I just mentioned, all those things are good for your brain as well. So we would like to see the World Health Organization and also the national governments if they start public health campaigns, that they include the brain health as well. And we think that makes the message even stronger.
Okay. And I know your mantra is what's good for your heart is good for your brain, which makes a lot of sense. Something that we all know, but we don't always follow as individuals.
No, that's not easy.
Yep.
But it's right. It's what's good for your heart is good for your brain is certainly true.
Okay.
And this was already, I think, something that was known by the research community, but this report, proves that again. So it confirms the earlier thinking.
Mhm. Okay. No, I'm just looking at the chat box here, Mark, and Norm McNamara is with us, and he just says to say hi from he himself and Elaine. And Norm's, as you know, is just doing amazing work in terms of reaching people and connecting us all around the world as well with his mission to shift our dementia care culture and the Purple Angel.
Yeah,
so,
sure. Norm's was last year at the launch we did of the report in 2013. He was present, and I admire him much in the way he gives energy and passion and encouragement to local communities, especially in the UK, just by going out and making every city step by step, making them dementia friendly, and he's doing an amazing job there.
Yeah, it's he's almost spooky because of what one person can do, but it really makes you step back and look at yourself and go, you know what, we all can have that impact if we choose to. And it's so neat to see that ripple effect, and when you're open with your information and when you really put the mission first, I think it just expands so beautifully. And you guys are doing such great work. I also wanted to talk about. First I should ask you: was there anything else you wanted to say on this particular study?
No, there's more happening in the dementia world, so there's other things to talk about as well if you have time.
Okay. Because I'm really interested in what's going on with the G8 summits. I know you're heavily involved with those. I don't think you're ever home. You're constantly traveling to some meeting around the world. But can you kind of give us an update on what's going on with the G8 summits on dementia?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So the G8 summit was last winter in London, and in this year there's a number of follow-up events, and all of them are hosted by different countries. Unfortunately, Russia is out of the G8 because of the whole issue with Ukraine. So it's now G7. But there has been two events this year so far, one in London, one in Ottawa, Canada. And the London event was about social innovation. How can we find new ways of funding research and engage new groups in society. And the Canada meeting was about how can the industry and the universities work together better, especially in the area where you're not yet in a stage of a drug with a patent, but before that. So the basic research and identifying the right compounds that are promising for the future. And what I learned from that meeting, and I'm not so into it in detail, or wasn't, is there's a lot of bureaucracy in the whole drug development process. And for instance, if a company and a university work together on a test, and it takes them 9 months to put together a contract and agree on it. And of course, all these things slow down the development process. And if you imagine that, how many more people would benefit from a new drug if it's 9 months earlier, that's really a shame. So I think it was a very good initiative to have this conversation. Another important topic is the quality of the care, and that will be the focus of the next meeting in November in Japan. So Japan is hosting that event and has asked people to come forward with good examples of good practices. So ADI is preparing a paper on that. And then in February 2015, there will be an event in the U.S., in Washington, D.C., that will be organized by NIH. And they will, I think, sort of wrap up all the research where we are at the moment and what we can recommend for the future. And then the final event will be in Geneva in March next year at the WHO, the World Health Organization. And that will wrap up everything and make some recommendations for the future. And it looks like that as a result of that, this will be on a top priority for the World Health Organization in the next years, which is a real great outcome of the whole process.
Oh yeah, that'll be great. Do you foresee other countries joining the G7 summit, or do you think you'll be holding with the 7 at this point?
Well, it is the objective to involve others. So there were some people from developing countries, for instance, in the London event. Someone from Indonesia presented on a lovely awareness campaign they have started by using the 10 warning signs that are very known in the U.S., but they have translated it and transformed it in a way that is more appropriate for their country. But I think it's it's not so easy for organizing beyond G7, because the G7 countries do have some regular meetings and with their civil servants to prepare. So that's why they have reached out to the World Health Organization, because the World Health Organization is covering the whole world, all the countries of the world, and they should broaden it to everybody.
Okay.
And of course, that's also the reason they come to ADI for all these meetings and ask us what we can present. Yeah, so they need standing organizations, existing organizations that can reach out to the whole world, because otherwise, if you have to do that country by country, then it's a nightmare in terms of logistics and organization.
Okay.
And that's the thing that makes G7 very flexible, is that it's just a small number of countries, and so they can act quite quickly.
Okay, and I can see where that makes sense. Like you said, the bureaucracy and the politics of it all can get, I would imagine, a little overwhelming at times trying to push things through.
Yeah.
With all the different needs. Can you just tell our audience who all is part of the G7? Because I'm just thinking not everyone probably knows.
Oh yeah, of course. So the USA, Canada, Japan, UK, France, Germany, and Italy. And originally those were the 7 largest economies of the world. Of course, they are not anymore. China is now the second largest. Countries like India and Brazil are also emerging. So there is another platform, that's the G20. But the G7 still exists. So it's USA, Canada, Japan, United Kingdom, Germany, France, and Italy.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Great. Well, that's helpful for some people. Can you tell us what else have you guys been up to? I know that there's been some other things you're doing, and then maybe talk about what you're looking at doing in the future too. But what are some other projects that you've had going that the public might be interested in knowing about?
Yeah, I think your audience might be interested in that. As we speak, we are talking with groups of people living with dementia about their engagement in ADI. So at the moment we have one dedicated seat in the board of ADI for a person with dementia who has to be elected by our council. But we don't have any formal advisory group or working group or things like that. And we're just looking now into a way of making that happen. And this comes from a meeting that we had earlier this year in Puerto Rico with a group called Dementia Alliance International. They are an independent NGO, but they like to work close with us, so we're looking at that. And we have a consultation paper circulated a few weeks ago and getting a response back. So this is something that will probably in the next month come to a decision. And that really is something that I think is very important, that we have the voice of the people who live with the disease themselves stronger into the work of ADI. And we are very much engaged in the G7 work. There's some working groups that we take part in. And then there are a number of conferences coming. The annual conference in Europe is in October in Glasgow, Scotland. And Scotland is a very well-organized country with a good healthcare system and lots of activities for people with dementia. A very working group of people who live with the disease themselves, which is a bit of a role model for the rest of the world. So I very much look forward to going there. And then a month later in Asia is the Asia Pacific Conference in New Delhi in India, which is of course also very exciting. And India being the second largest country in the world in terms of population, and I think they are catching up now on dementia, which was for a long time very much a taboo and a hidden disease. But that's changing, and I think this conference can play a crucial role in getting it out to the public and talk more openly about it, like we do in your show, of course. Mm-hmm. And then ADI itself has its annual conference next year in Australia, and that's in April 2015, and we are very busy already in preparing for that.
Okay. Now, you have a Facebook promotion going on, too, that people could still utilize. Do you want to talk a little bit about that in terms of raising awareness?
Yes. Let me see. There's quite a lot of things happening on Facebook, but we were aiming for a special app, but that's not ready yet. It's not launched.
Okay.
And there was some technical.
Oh, okay. Because I have seen people put the banner out. If they went to alz.co.uk.
Oh yeah. But that's
mm-hmm.
right. That is related to the report, and
mm-hmm.
It's a sort of simple summary of the main messages from the report. I think it's a very nice poster that we have over there with five recommendations what you can do, and people are using that a lot.
Okay.
So the 5 things that you can do is look after your heart, be physically active, follow a healthy diet, challenge your brain, and enjoy social activity. Although I made some nuances earlier about how strong the evidence is for all these things to be beneficial for your brain, we think that overall this 5 things you can do are very beneficial for both your physical and your mental activity, your brain health and your body health. Mm-hmm. So this is shared with many people. It's also translated into many languages and used all around the world for awareness campaigns.
Okay, and you also have, on your site where people can find information on dementia or caring for a person, or if they have dementia themselves. You've got some resources and things listed. So there's just it's a really nice, it's an easy maneuver website loaded with great information. And if you're looking for research, you've got wonderful connections here. I would also like to point out too that you're always open to donations, and there is a donate button on the site, and you can just go to www.alz.co.uk and help push the cause along there too, if you'd like to. All these organizations work so hard, and there's just not a ton of funding out there, and so they all need our help. as well, and this would be a great place to be able to help help the organization as a whole. So if you've got some extra cash and want to do something with it, go to Alzheimer's Disease International and click on that donate button. I would imagine Mark would highly appreciate that. So.
Sure, yeah. Well, we're not actively seeking donations because most people donate to their national organization, and the national organization pays a contribution to ADI as well. But of course, there are also people who donate directly to ADI, and that's highly appreciated. And sometimes it's people who were born in one country and are living in another country, and they feel that they are a bit connected internationally, so then they come to us. But of course, you don't have to do that. It's really appreciated, and thank you for mentioning.
Okay. Anything else that you would like to cover, Mark, while I have this opportunity to have you live on the air?
Well, on our website you can also find a page that gives a list of Alzheimer associations around the world. So wherever you live, you can click on the country, and if there is an association, then you can find the details. That's one of the two most used pages. The other one is about the early symptoms. That's also clicked on very much. And well, I think I assume most of your listeners will be in the U.S., and I hope that many of them are taking part in memory walks. I've seen several announcements on the Walk to End Alzheimer's from different states of the U.S., so I wish everybody, if you participate, a very good walk. Many of these walks are also happening in other countries. There was a big walk yesterday in Indonesia. There's a whole series of walks in the UK at the moment, and in the coming days as well. And many, many other countries. So this is something that unites us worldwide, that we go out to the public and we talk about it, and we raise money for the cause. And I think that's really wonderful.
Yep. And I'm just going to point out, if people go to the ADI website to find those, to find the closest Alzheimer's Association closest to you, go to Global Information and then click on Finding Help, and it'll have a whole list of the associations listed there. So it's very, very easy to find and drill down to what it is that you're looking for with that. Well, Mark, once again, I appreciate your time. I love having you on the show. You're doing great work, and we're thrilled that you're able to take the time to share with us all that you are doing. And again, can't thank you enough for your wonderful work. It's making a big difference. Making a really big difference. I've seen a huge difference just in the last, 3 to 5 years, especially in terms of how the disease is being dealt with and talked about. And I would imagine you're seeing the change too in terms of companies and organizations and just communities as a whole in terms of how they are, how they're dealing with dementia or willing to have conversations about it. To me is just incredible, the significance and the changes.
Okay, thank you, Lori, and I always appreciate to be on your show and talking to you.
Okay, well, I'm sure we will have you on again. Just keep us posted when you've got something else that you want us to help kind of roll out and let people know about. We're here when you need us, okay?
Okay, yeah, fine, that's very good.
Okay, you have a great week, and again, thanks for taking this time to spend with us today, Mark. Have a nice evening, and we'll continue our day here in the U.S. because it's just morning here. So,
yeah, we're more moving towards the end of the day. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a lovely sort of Indian summer still, although autumn officially started yesterday. We still enjoy good weather here.
Yeah, it's they're talking maybe even hitting the 80s here in Minnesota, which will be really nice because it's gotten fairly chilly. We've been pulling our plants in and stuff lately, but we had, in fact, our house had a really nice patio party. My daughter had a baby reveal party, so we found the sex of the baby out last night, but we were all able to be outside and enjoy the weather. No, it's not going to last a lot longer, but we'll take what we can get. So
Okay.
anyway,
good.
But thanks again so much for joining us, Mark, and we will talk soon, okay?
Yeah, thanks a lot and take care. And bye, everybody who's listening.
Point out a few more things. This is just kind of a special show that we had today, so we won't be going for the full 2 hours. If you didn't get a chance to hear the last couple of shows, we've had two, I think, really interesting shows. One was on Fuel for Thought, and it's a new coconut oil drink that's out that is more I can't say the word now. It has less calories and it's more potent than straight coconut oil, all natural, and it's called Fuel for Thought. And so we had a really interesting conversation about that. I also had a Girl Scout on, Evelyn Jackson, who is getting her Gold Award, and she created a book called This Is Me, and it's an identity book for those dealing with dementia. And you can actually get the free download of how to make one of these yourself. But the Gold Award is the highest award that a Girl Scout can get. It's kind of like an Eagle Scout for the Boy Scouts. Tomorrow we're going to have a 2-hour special called Keeping Safe in Today's World, and we're going to be focusing on Project Lifesaver. And so we've got one of the leaders from Project Lifesaver, Mara Botanis, is going to be with us, Michael Ellenbogen. So we're going to have a variety of people talking about, how do we keep people safe? Harry Urban is also going to join us on that show. It'll be very interesting to hear everyone's opinions and how do we keep a person with dementia safe and still be dignified? What terms do we use? Is coming up, too, in the conversations that we're having lately. And then our last Dementia Chats actually was on phrases that we use. And one is a phrase that I use that I won't be using in the future, though this Thursday it's this Wednesday, I think, I have a presentation called Living Well with Dementia. And on Dementia Chats, they talked about how they didn't like that phrase, that as the disease progresses, they feel they are less likely or able to live well with the disease because they have fewer options to adapt. And so I've agreed in the future to call it Living with Dementia instead of Living Well with Dementia. And so that was a really interesting conversation. If people want to hear that, all of our radio shows and all of the Dementia Chats webinars are recorded and they're free. And then we will also be having a Dementia Chats session tomorrow, the 23rd, at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. I want to point out a few different things that are on the blog, and some of these you can find on our homepage on Alzheimer Speaks too. There were a couple of newscasts that were done. One CNN did with our friend Sandy Halperin, and it was about driving in dementia. And so I have that listed both on the homepage and on the blog. I've also linked a 2-hour special we did on the radio show about a year ago about driving with dementia, where we had people who had dementia. We had their care partners. We had doctors. We had insurance people. We had we had a ex-state patrol on, so it was a very, very interesting conversation. There's also another great video called Alzheimer's versus the Journalist, A Battle Against Time, and it's Greg O'Brien, who is a veteran journalist, and News Station did 4 segments on him. I have the first one posted. I'll probably be posting another one yet this week. Michelle, our intern, just wrote a nice little post on questioning myths about dementia. And then there's also a news interview that was done by Sue Zawacki from Aging Info Radio. She interviewed both myself and Mara Botanis. And then I did a piece called learning to say goodbye. And again, my mom passed away here in February, but for me, this was another stage in terms of selling a family home and belongings and how I look at things differently than what I once did. I also want to note I'm going to be out in Pennsylvania for about 10 days. I'll be in Allentown October 16th with the Phoebe Institute for their aging conference. We're going to be talking about academic and grassroots efforts of dementia-friendly models, and that is open to the public. I'll also be speaking in Erie, Pennsylvania on the 21st, and Pittsburgh on the 23rd for the Alzheimer's Association's annual conferences. Again, that's the 21st and the 23rd out in Pennsylvania for that. And if you would happen to be in Roseville, Minnesota, and want to join us on Wednesday the 24th, I'll be doing my last Living Well with Dementia segment, which will now be Living with Dementia. That's a town hall forum where I will be doing a very brief keynote, and then I will be interviewing 3 couples from our memory cafes that will be talking about how they live with dementia. And we're going to break down their homes room by room. And when they go out in the community, if they travel, what have they done to be able to still engage and live as purposeful as possible and as connected. And a very interesting conversation, and the public is open to join us. And then we are also going to have the fire and police with us talking about how to prevent emergency situations and what do you do when you're in one. So it'll be about 2 hours long. It's free to the public. It's at the Roseville Library. Would love to have you join us if you're in the area. And again, if you have not already become a Purple Angel, I would encourage you to do so. Again, if you're in the U.S., you can just go to our site on Alzheimer Speaks on the About page. Click on the Purple Angel. If you're outside the U.S., it'll direct you where to go to grab that information, so you can go to Norm's sites as well. Alzheimer's Disease International, again, if you're looking for an Alzheimer's Association anywhere in the world. If you need home health care, check out Health Star, see if they're in your area. They just do a fantastic job. They have been trained by the Alzheimer's Whisperer. That is a very unique and special program. The Alzheimer's Research and Prevention Foundation will give you ideas on how to deal with this disease in a holistic fashion. And if you're dealing with a specific type of dementia, such as Lewy body, frontal temporal lobe, or maybe you're dealing with some aphasia, there are national organizations for each of those. So go there to find support. Also on Facebook, there's a lot of great groups that you'll be able to find wonderful support for there. And then one last reminder to look for that new CD that will be launched here probably the first week in October by Alzheimer's Music Connect, which is going to be just a fabulous holiday CD when it's launched. I look forward to talking to everybody tomorrow. And again, feel free to, call in and join us at 714-364-4757. Or you can utilize the chat box. Tomorrow our conversation will be on Project Lifesaver, and it's going to be about wandering, eloping, escaping, exploring, whatever word you want to use. And that'll be part of the topic. I'm sure we'll get into the language there. So, again, thank you from AlzheimersSpeaks.com. We look forward to talking to you soon. Bye now.
It's time to rethink, renew, and reimagine retirement. Hey everybody, Jared Sebesti here, host of Retire Repurposed. Now this podcast is about the non-financial parts of retirement, which many times can be even more challenging than the financial. We believe retirement is not the end, rather the beginning of what could be the most impactful, purposeful, and fulfilling season of a person's life. So don't retire. Become repurposed. To listen now, search Retire Repurposed on your favorite podcast platform, Senior Resource, or Life Audio.